What's good, Rush Rivals? This is Lord Tenrai, and I'm back at it again with another Rush Duels Best Decks video in Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Links, this time featuring Bubble Era Cure Master Dian Keto, which I believe to be one of the best decks in the format right now, this time reaching me King of Games on the 1st of November 2023. And I'm here to show you some strategies and explain the deck list to you. If you like these videos, please drop a like and a subscribe. I will be covering more Duel Links contents in regards to Rush Duels in the near future. We've got Gohal Rush Duels coming up soon, a small competition online in Duel Links, and we have a new box and a new character in Roa Cassidy coming up in the next few weeks. So stay tuned for that. In the meantime though, let's get straight into the deck profile. So as I'm sure you notice, this deck features a lot of high ranking monsters, level 7s and level 8s. Apart from the Summoned Skull, that is like pretty much the main strategy to winning the game. As I'm sure you guys have noticed in the meta right now, a lot of the matches are due to cards like Dragius, Prima Katana, just swinging for massive damage. And the best way to facilitate those tribute summons is with Seahorse Carrier, which I believe to be the best normal summon in the game right now. Followed up by Curibot, which is, in my opinion, the second best normal summon in the game, as long as you have a Curibot in the graveyard. Now, the reason why these are really important is because these are effectively one card tribute summons for two monsters, right? So obviously Seahorse Carrier, you grab your light Aqua from the graveyard and boom, you go for your tribute summon. Same thing with the Curibot in this case. Normal summon Curibot, pay 500 and then summon Curibot and then go for your two tribute summon monster. Now, what's important to note is that in this particular build, I was running about 6 vanilla 1500 beaters. The reason why we were doing that in this build was because I found it incredibly hard to out problem cards such as the opponent's Dragius and also Yami Ruler, which both sit at 2500 respectively. And unless I drew into my Thunder, I would have to crash either with Dragius or with my Dian Keto, and if I had two level 4 1500 vanillas on the field, I can then swing in for 1500. That does leave me susceptible to a follow-up Dragius if they do draw it on their following turn, but quite frankly, it's a risk I'm willing to take, especially with the skill Cure Master Dian Keto, which gives you back life points while also allowing you to shuffle your two Aqua type monsters with different names from your graveyard into your deck, allowing you to recycle your Seahorse Carrier and your Dian Keto Boogie Master. Now you can recycle your normal monsters as well, however you want to keep them in there primarily so that if you do hard draw Seahorse Carrier on the following turn, then you can facilitate his effect to be able to tribute summon your two tribute monsters. However, going into the matches, I would argue that you do not need to run as many Dian Keto Boogie Master. I think it is good going first with this card because you can give yourself a little boost. Quite a couple times, I would summon Dian Keto, and if I had another Dian Keto in hand, I would just discard the other Dian Keto for effect to gain 1k. Now, another change I would make, most likely, just get rid of all these Dark Sorcerers and boom, put in Lamoon, because Triple Threat Thunder is probably the best spell in the entire game right now, allowing you to target an opponent's monster and make it 0 attack, meaning that Dragius is swinging in with 2500 straight to the face, leading to lots of OTKs. And finally, I would probably add in the second Prima Katana. So I think going forward, I would like my deck to look like this, but for the purpose of this video, the final build that I ended up having was something like this, and it worked out well. I got King of Games in the first day of KoG, of the new rank reset. Ended up getting it in 32 games, very quick stuff. Few combos with the with the deck, I mean, there's not really too much to discuss if I'm being honest with you. Thunder allows you to discard your vanilla aquas so that you can facilitate tribute summoning with Seahorse Carrier. Another thing that really came up sometimes was I would use Dragius's effect to mill off the top of the deck, and hopefully I would mill my Dian Keto so I can activate the skill to shuffle back in Seahorse Carrier and the Dian Keto for effect. Another thing to mention is Prima Katana allows you to go below the threshold for your life points so that you can then activate the skill to shuffle back in Seahorse Carrier to then facilitate more ways into drawing into Seahorse Carrier later in the duel. Same thing with Kuribot. If you're at, like, let's say for example 52 to their 5k life points and you use Kuribot's effect, then you go under their threshold for their life points, giving them the lead. Then you can use Dian Keto skill to then shuffle back in your aquas to gain that 1k boost, complete the rest of your turn, and then hopefully in your following turn, draw your tributes and draw your Seahorse Carrier. This is really where all of the meat of the deck comes into play. Seahorse Carrier, Kuribot, and your plethora of 2 tribute monsters. Now, weaknesses with the deck, I would argue that sometimes you just draw really poorly. It is a little bit sacky, as you can tell with the amount of 2 tribute monsters in the deck. I've had duels where I've drew 4 level 8s and 7s and then triple threat thunder, which leads me to a very prompt scoop. Another thing that I've had is that I can start off the duel really well, but then sometimes I'll just draw into vanilla level 4s later in the duel with no tribute monsters in sight, and the momentum swings in my opponent's favour, allowing them to get out key monsters like Dragius, Prima Katana, Seven's Road, etc. Yami Ruler, you name it. You know, if the momentum shifts, it can be hard to get that momentum back. And then finally, I think, you know, obviously Yami Ruler, very hard to deal with. If they Yami Ruler you, your only out is to Thunder into Summon Skull, unless you have Triple Threat Thunder on the board. But that's if they're, you know, the Yami Ruler's in attack position. If it's not in attack position, it's in defense, then you just do not have an out, and you just have to pass turn with defense. You can change this up a little bit by adding in Gravity Press Dragon. This still works with the deck. You can take out one of your level 2, so your 2 tribute monsters, to add in Gravity Press Dragon if you are seeing a lot of Yami Ruler in the on the ladder. I personally would not recommend this because these monsters here, well, primarily these 2, these are your high power ceiling monsters. If you can end the board with a Dragius and a Prima Katana, chances are you are just going to win the game. Anyway, with that being said, I'm going to go into the replay portion of the video. I hope you enjoyed the deck profile, and I'll see you guys very shortly. What's good, Rush Duelists? So, we are going to go into our replay portion of the video. As you can see, King of Games rank achieved. This was done within 32 games. I was pretty happy with it. However, going into KoG matches, I did find it quite difficult, not only just to find games due to the KC Cup going on, but also with my record, I ended up going 6-4 in terms of win-loss ratio. I think that the deck can definitely do a lot better, and as I've already told you guys with the changes that I'm looking to make, I'm hoping that that will allow me to improve my win rating for the Goha Rush Festival. So yeah, going into game 1, I think this guy is playing Legend Draw, which is probably one of the best decks in the meta right now as well. Starting hand relatively straightforward. We just basically set 2 and then a spell and pass. The reason why we set the 2 and not the 3 with the second Kuribot is because we want to keep the Kuribot so that we can facilitate tribute summoning on our turn 3. It's interesting that he doesn't use Seahorse Server's effect to gain 500, but it is what it is. He's attacking with Dian Keto. Unfortunately, doesn't attack into the Kuribot, but doesn't really matter too much. We're going to draw into our Kanan, and then we're going to tribute summon straight into Dian Keto. And then boom, triple threat thunder. Tons of damage on the board. And at this point, it's very hard for the opponent to come back. Although a very good start with Thunder, discarding Dragius. That tells us immediately there's another Dragius in play. And he tribute summons for Dragius. Milling Prima Katana. That's like one of the worst mills to see in your deck. Which is why I think opting for 2 Prima Katana in the future is really important. So that you don't just mill like one of your highest, if not the highest power ceiling board in the game. However, we draw our Thunder, and at this point we're just going to be able to out their board. Also, yeah, if you mill Summon Skull, not the best, but it could certainly be worse. I would rather mill a Summon Skull than a Prima Katana, if I'm being completely honest with you. But anyway, quite a relatively easy win there. Going straight into our second replay. Yeah, I found it really hard to gain consecutive wins with my build of the deck. Don't get me wrong, sometimes having the 1500 vanillas really came in clutch when I needed to crash a 2500 monster into a Dragius, for example, or a Yami Ruler, and then deal 3k worth of damage. But a lot of the time, it didn't really come up in KoG rank. It kind of came up in gold rank from 5 to 1. So looking forward to trying that change as well. So yeah, we tribute summon Skull here. It's not something that we would normally do. We would probably keep the Summon Skull, but we do need to start getting the draws in so that we can facilitate tribute summoning on our turn 3. Oh, sorry, on turn 3 I should say. But yeah, he hard draws Gravity Press Dragon, which is very good. Telling you, man, Gravity Press Dragon, sometimes it comes in clutch, especially if you're seeing lots of Yami Ruder on the ladder. Big combo. Dragius, Gravity Press Dragon. However, we know right now that if we can facilitate 2 tributes, then we are doing a ton of damage. And we most certainly can. We're going to set Kanan. We're going to tribute into Dragius. Then Seahorse Carrier, best normal summon in the game, allowing us to tribute summon again by collecting Kanan from the graveyard and going straight into Prima Katana. And you see that right there? Let me pause that. Do you see that? We milled our Dian Keto with the Dragius, and then we shuffle back 2 back in with to activate the skill. This allows us to hard draw our Seahorse Carrier later on in the game, which comes in mad clutch. The 1k at this point doesn't matter too much because we're going to gain the lead here anyway, regardless of whether we gain life points or not. Yeah, he's on life support, straight into Dian Keto skill. Do they have triple threat? They most certainly do. Yeah, and then just swing. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, there's not much else they can really do from there. However, if they had Dragius, they could have got straight back into that duel. Double attack with Dragius, leaving the Kanan on the field. That could have been very, very dicey for me, but thankfully they don't hard draw the combo. So moving on into the third replay. Yeah, so in terms of matchups, I think Legend Draw isn't too bad. It's just sometimes you won't see the tributes that you need. Sometimes you'll just see loads of level 4s. Sometimes you'll just see all tributes and no ability to tribute summon. Whereas Legend Draw is a bit more balanced in terms of the deck distribution of like 1 tribute monsters and 2 tribute monsters. Like I mentioned, you can change that if you want to add Gravity Press Dragon. It just lowers the power ceiling a little bit and increases consistency. Don't know why I used Thunder there. I probably should have used the Kuribo if I'm being completely honest with you. But maybe we use Dian Keto effect to discard. Yeah, we are. Yeah, we're not too fast. Like, we'll just keep Seahorse Carrier in hand and we'll just chill out. They hard draw Gravity Press here. They're going to be able to out our Dian Keto. Disco Fever. This skill is also pretty good as well. I think the only problem with this skill is that you are kind of limited in your archetype, which doesn't have a lot of high attack monsters. Yeah. And then we're going to mill back in the Dian Keto, get some health back. And, sorry, the Seahorse Carrier, that's the most important part. Milling back in Seahorse Carrier into the deck, it's just so good. And this is where the 215s come up, because we can really put on the pressure here. It kind of forces them into a situation where they need to get Dragius on the field. Nice. Drawing into Kuribo, activating effect. And Carrier here. This is like optimal turn 1 boardage right here, because you can like very easily get 2 tributes on the field. Disco Fever. That's the advantage of this build though, going for Disco Fever. You don't need to run the other tributes. Obviously it doesn't allow you to anyway, but the skill just allows you to swing constantly. This is going to be huge though. We get Prima Katana. We activate Seahorse Carrier to reconstitute our hand, and then we go straight into Dragius, and we get Kanan out on the field. Now the thing is, we know that we're going to be able to get lethal here, I believe. Yeah, this is easy lethal. And that's the reason why the deck is so good. The power ceiling is so high. He was around about 4k, I think, for life, and it didn't even matter. We just absolutely tore him apart in that one turn. It can really just turn around for you. But don't get me wrong though, you will get frustrated sometimes, because you will just go into turn, you'll see nothing but level 7s and level 8s, and no way to summon them off, and you know, at that point it's very hard to come back. Pretty decent turn 1 hand here, especially now that we see Seahorse Carrier. We're very happy to just set 2 and pass. We could even see double Dragius board later on, which is excellent, like easily one of the most threatening boards in the game. Nice. Now I think we go for Dian Keto here just to make sure that we, you know, improve our life points. Yeah, we do. I know that's like a very questionable decision, but we wouldn't be able to double attack with Dragius anyway, so we may as well just use him as the card to gain extra life points, right? And I mean, we kill here anyway, so it really doesn't matter. The only way we would have died there, or we would have had to have passed turn, is if he had Phantom Bind. That's one thing I should probably mention. Phantom Bind doesn't really bother this deck much. I think if you were to play more bubbles, however, you will obviously be a little bit more affected by Phantom Bind. But by playing the 6 1500 vanillas, you can play around Phantom Bind a little bit, because you don't play spellcasters or warriors in the deck. So it just depends on what you want to play around. In that build, I think that was a core concept of what I wanted to go for. I wanted to play around the Phantom Bind, so I played these vanillas. Yeah, so very happy with this hand. I just set 3 and pass. One thing I'll mention as well, especially in that last duel, it might not matter too much about life point count, but I really disagree. I think I might even want to do a video on it. I think this early into Rush Duel Links, I think life points really do matter, because not only are they a currency for some effects, but they also determine like how aggressive you can be. And obviously, the more life points you have, the harder it will be for your opponent to make that comeback. They at that point, they are then hoping that you're not going to draw, good hands. They're relying on you drawing bad hands, so you can't increase the lead. So that's just my opinion anyway. Unfortunately left with the vanilla, but it's not too bad, because we can go straight into our summon. And then here we go, this is where it came up. So we just swing with Dragius. There's no other dragons in the graveyard, so we don't get hit by Phantom Bind, which this is what I predicted it to be. And now swing with 3k, which honestly, pretty good start to the duel. We just have to be careful that they do not summon a Dragius. And they get Prima Katana and Gazelle. Yeah, so this is a pretty beefy board. Yeah, it's good damage. Gaining the lead here. However, we draw into our Dragius, which is so important at this point. And then we gain our board back. And then do we activate skill? We probably should. Yeah, especially after. That's so important. When you mill Dian Keto and you have Seahorse Carrier in graveyard and you have less life points, you just activate skill, in my opinion. There's no reason why you shouldn't. Yeah, and they scoop, because that's it. That's lethal there. So they just scoop at that point. But anyway, that's the video. I hope you really enjoyed the matches. Please drop a comment. Any questions, queries, anything like that. Deck requests, more than happy to give that a go. And this is Lord Tenrai signing off. Peace, take care, be safe.